The Albanese government is driving the big Australia charge, but at the end of the day, it's the states who have to deal with it. And they aren't coping, clearly. Front page again of the Daily Telegraph, lots of papers around the country again today. Leith van Onselen joins me now. Leith, great to see you. It's bordering on a crisis, or is it there already?
Yeah, look, it is. It is bordering on a crisis. We've seen, a lot of good debate over the last week, especially from New South Wales, which is basically getting inundated with record numbers of migrants. They obviously had 186,000 in the year to September into New South Wales, which was just unbelievable. At the same time as New South Wales's GST revenue was cut by nearly $200 million. So it's an absolute fast situation here that's going on. New South Wales is getting flooded with people, and they're not giving they're getting less money to deal with that migration flood.
So how do you fix it? Because I've been promising my viewers that you have a solution, and I think it's a really good one. It might require the states and territories to come together and unite.
Yeah, and that's always the problem. Look, the immigration problem, Erin, boils down to basically distorted incentives. So a key reason why the federal government runs such a huge immigration program is because it gets all of the benefits from immigration. So the federal government collects about 80% of the nation's tax revenue and benefits from high immigration through increased income taxes and company taxes. But here's the thing, they don't wear any of the costs. So those costs are then pushed onto the states, who are responsible, obviously, for service delivery, infrastructure, and all those sorts of things. And then the states are left fighting over a diminishing revenue pie in the GST. The reason why I say it's diminishing is because the fastest growing areas of consumption, say healthcare, are excluded.
Yeah.
And so the easiest solution here, Erin, in my view, is to basically require the federal government to share the revenue benefits of immigration with the states, and require the federal government to pay the states, say, $50,000 per new resident that lands in their state to pay for their services and infrastructure. And this solution would force the federal government to basically weigh up the costs of immigration with the benefits, because at the moment it just sees immigration as a one-sided bet. It's all gains and no losses. And I guarantee you, Erin, the feds were required to pay the states $50,000 per new resident. It would run a much lower, more sustainable immigration policy, because they'd have to weigh the benefits with the costs.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about this diminishing GST. You're talking about the states fighting over this diminishing pie, essentially. Just go into that again for me. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So basically, the states get the GST, right? And you think, well, they get 10% of all expenditure. The problem is the fastest growing areas of household expenditure are actually things that are excluded from the GST. So you think things like healthcare, private school fees, fresh food, those things all grow faster than wages generally. And what that means is that the overall revenue pie relative to the economy from GST actually shrinks. So effectively, the GST is a diminishing tax base, whereas on the other side of that, the federal government has the fastest growing tax base in personal income taxes, because that grows not just with population growth, but also with bracket creep. So that's another reason why this big Australia migration benefits the feds, because the new migrants work, they pay income taxes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you then get bracket creep, they get all the benefits. The costs are then pushed on the states, who are relying on a diminishing revenue pie, and we need to fix that.
Leith, why can't the government speak as clearly about what is probably a complex issue as you can? You make it so easy to understand.
Look, I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Most issues are actually fairly simple when you break them down, but politicians, lobbyists, etc., they like to make the simple sound complicated.
Yes.
And they like to bury the public in minutiae. Now, the reason why they do that is because it basically muddies the waters, and it makes people lose interest, and then they ask fewer questions.
It's so true. Yes.
We're seeing this all over the place. We're seeing it in the housing market, whereby obviously the rental crisis has been driven because we're growing the population way faster than we can supply homes. And instead of just simply going, well, maybe we should slow that down a bit with immigration, they then blame the supply side. Then they promise all these uber expensive supply schemes that will take possibly a decade to bear any fruit, when they could just simply, reduce immigration with a stroke of a pen.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. They make it so hard to understand, so muddied that people just stop trying to understand it. Too hard basket, move on, which benefits them, as we know. Leith van Onselen, thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Thanks, Erin. Anytime.